curriculum elements. In this video, we want to briefly summarize the main points to consider when creating your syllabus and how to approach it. Main curriculum elements. Step 1. Create an inventory of target or real-world tasks. The first step in the design process is to create an inventory of target tasks. These should reflect the overall purposes of the learners for whom the materials are being designed. For example, general communication, tourism, business or workplace, further study, job interview, making a bank account. You can choose from various tasks available in the MOOC and in the Tandem textbook. When thinking about the TBLT curriculum, the task is the major factor to consider. From the task as a teacher, and depending on your group's needs and level, you can choose the linguistic structures to focus on: adverbs, prepositions, past tense, adjectives, etc., and draw your learner's attention towards that topic. But the first elements to decide upon are the topic, which is interesting for your learners, and the activity with which you will engage them. Step 2. Collect samples of authentic spoken and written texts. The next step is to collect samples of spoken and written texts relating to the target tasks specified in Step 1. The easiest way to collect spoken language data is to get pairs or groups of native speakers or competent users of the language to do the tasks. Record them as they do the tasks and then transcribe the interactions. You can also use news, songs, radio broadcasts, podcasts in the target language, etc. For writing samples, you can use everything with written text: brochures, magazines, newspapers, posters, commercial leaflets, poems, song lyrics, etc. Step 3. Analyze the authentic data and identify linguistic exponents. Even though TBLT focuses on meaning rather than language forms, pedagogical elements are indeed needed for the successful acquisition of the language. When we refer to authentic data, it means samples of spoken or written language that have not been specifically designed for the purposes of teaching. Hence, after choosing authentic texts, videos, or materials you want to use with your class, you need to identify what are the language forms underpinning the task. What you want to focus on can vary depending on your goals and groups. Grammar, new vocabulary, repetition of old knowledge, register, different types of texts, production of text, spoken and written, reception of texts, etc. Most tasks require learners to use a range of language forms. Judgment is required in deciding which of these is to be the explicit focus of a unit of work. These 3 major steps in the course design process provide the basis for developing modules of work. It is important to note that this syllabus emerges during the materials development process, rather than being the point of departure for materials design. For task-based language learning, the main advantage is that learners often tend to perform a real-world task. Hence, at the end of the unit or class, they can actually recreate what they did or learnt during the class. As it was already mentioned, start with a simple task with fewer steps, not involving a lot of elements or participants in each activity. And as learners are more familiar with using the language, you can increase the intensity and difficulties of the tasks. You can see a sample of a task-based language teaching syllabus. Pay attention to the tasks and the grammar being addressed with each task. you can find another sample of a TBLT syllabus focusing on the different language skills to be developed. It allows us to identify the different aspects to work on during the class in a clear way. The teacher can base their activities on the previous knowledge of the students, thus reinforcing already existing knowledge. In addition to the topics to be tackled, the teacher should have in mind the specific objectives for each lesson. The objectives are for a TBL speaking course, hence the objectives are related to developing speaking skills.